October is right around the corner, which means Sunrise Cup is almost upon us. And Sunrise is going to bring about an era where a new hero will hit the scene for the Pokemon Go battle community. A hero that we do not deserve but so need. Doduo! Because even though you cap out at 1200 CP, I believe in you, little buddy. Just quick attack and brave bird everything into submission. Just kidding, I think Galarian Stunfisk is definitely going to be the most common thing we see in the Sunrise Cup. That said, I think Sunrise is going to be a great cup. The 5 types we have are Fire, Grass, Flying, Normal, and Ground. The cup lets us use Shadow Pokemon, and the only main restrictions are Rock types and Mega Evolution. Before we get any further though, I do want to point out that there's already very good resources up on silph.gg, such as this wonderful infographic breaking down the meta, as well as the Nifty or Thrifty page. I highly recommend reading that article. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. Currently, the 6 that I've been running in my practice matches have been Dragonite, Wigglytuff, Mantine, the Galarifisk itself, Alola Marowak, and finally Ferrothorn. I find in my practice matches that Ferro and AWAC form a strong core when both of them are in the back behind Wigglytuff or Mantine, although I do like Ferrothorn as a lead with Dragonite and Marowak in the back as well. Some of the stuff I've been practicing with is pretty straightforward. Fire Spin Marowak with Bone Club and Shadow Ball. Bubble Beam, Ice Beam, Mantine, although I do want to point out Mantine can be pretty customizable with its fast moves. Wing Attack could probably be decent for hitting grass types. Bullet Seed is even optional with any potential of the Mud Boys being around with the 4 times weak to grass, especially pairing Bullet Seed with Bubble Beam to get quick bait moves, but the only thing is you're kind of trading damage for spam at that point. And then there's Galarian Stunfisk. I feel like that should be very, very straightforward with access to Rock Slide and Earthquake as charge moves and Mudshot as its fast move. Basically, it will be rock sliding for days and throwing out the occasional Earthquake here and there. So let's talk Ferrothorn. It has some great pros in having Thunder and Power Whip as charge moves. Ferrothorn does also get Acid Spray and Flash Cannon, although for this cup I think Thunder and Power Whip will be significantly better because Grass and Electric together can devastate most water types and a significant amount of flying types, especially if anything switches into a Thunder expecting a Power Whip. Some cons though with Ferrothorn is it's weak to counter, and it's very weak to fire. So Vigoroth and Breloom having counter will put offensive pressure onto Ferrothorn, and if you see a Marowak, then chances are it's going to be spamming Fire Spin because Fire Spin AWAC will probably will be the most common variant of Marowak in this cup. That said, having a Charm user or a Flying type in the back to alleviate some pressure off of Ferrothorn could be very handy as well. And on the note of Charm, let's talk about Wigglytuff. Currently, as I'm recording this, Wigglytuff is ranked the highest Charmer in the entire format for Sunrise, being ranked overall at number 26. Wigglytuff can pick up some key wins such as Vigoroth, Altaria, Abomasnow, Shadow Dragonite, and Whiscash. Though a con, though, is Wigglytuff does lose to Mantine and Galar Stunfisk. But hey, Ferrothorn also beats Wiggly, so if you're worried about Wigglytuff, at least there's another reason to consider Ferrothorn. Then there's the elephant in the room, or rather I should say the dragon on the team, and that is currently Dragonite. So I'm going to point out the most obvious thing. This thing dies hard to ice. You see an Abomasnow, you better run with that Dragonite. That said, I think Dragon Breath paired with Dragon Claw is overall pretty satisfying. It charges relatively good, and anything that is not outright resisting Dragon Claw does not appreciate that. The other thing about Dragonite is both Shadow and Regular are viable for this format. I myself have been using regular form Dragonite, but I think Shadow Dragonite itself is ranked higher according to PvPoke. And there's the question of whether or not to run regular or shadow. So some important notes according to PvPoke is regular loses to both Mantine and Whiscash, while Shadow Dragonite does pick up those wins. Both forms, Shadow and regular, do beat Swampert and Pharaoh, but regular Dragonite picks up Vigoroth, which is something I think is pretty good because if it's left unattended, I think Vigoroth can tear through a lot of teams. So that's the team I've been currently practicing with. It's by no means perfect. However, I have been having some pretty good success with it in my practice matches with people on my friends list as well as on Go Battle League before the meta switched over to Ultra League. Before I end this though, there are a few interesting things that I would like to point out that I think could be spicy if you are looking for that sort of thing. The first of which I'm going to start with is Hippowdon. Some pros to this is it's highly customizable in regards to whatever fast move you want to run because it gets access to all 3 elemental fangs. And bite. Yay. Bite. That said, the elemental fangs are pretty strong moves in my opinion, and the reason being that they have the potential to exploit 4 times super effective hits and rack up a lot of damage on fast moves alone. Fire Fang could hit Ferrothorn pretty good, although I think the better of the 3 elemental fangs in Hippowdon's case this time is Ice Fang because it can hit Dragonite and Altaria super effectively and could probably catch a few people off guard for the first few initial hits and rack up some damage that way. The only problem there is Piloswine is a thing. Thunderfang could be pretty decent in fast move scenarios in that it can hit flying type super effectively, and if you get an opportunity to hit both Mantine or Pelipper with a couple of them, that should also rack up the damage. The only problem there is they could potentially be getting to their charge moves faster than you do. Hippowdon does get Body Slam as well, which is a pretty good move, and it does make up for the less than preferred energy generation in regards to the elemental fangs. The only thing that doesn't really sell me on Hippowdon though, as much as I do love the Hippo from Toxacup, is it does share the ground typing with both forms of Stunfisk. And chances are, if Galarian Stunfisk is not run on a team, chances are Unova Stunfisk will. That said, if you were looking for a little bit of spice and want to play around with the elemental fangs, I do recommend Hippowdon. Second, let's talk about Xangoose. It gets Shadow Claw and Fury Cutter as fast moves. The one thing I do want to point out with Shadow Claw is it is possible to beat Ferrothorn, Alola Marowak, and Galarian Stunfisk with Shadow Claw. With Fury Cutter, you do not pick up Marowak or Galarian Stunfisk. Shadow Claw also picks up wins over Drifblim, which is very good because Drifblim having access to Icy Wind can be a problem for nerfing your attack buffs. The idea with this, and this is also on the Nifty or Thrifty page as well regarding Xangoose, is it gets both Close Combat and Night Slash as charge moves. That said, Close Combat hits Galarian Stunfisk like a truck, and Night Slash has the potential to boost your attack stat. In regards to both Ferrothorn and Alola Marowak, Night Slash can be pretty nasty. Like the Galarian Stunfisk, if you play around the shields with Ferrothorn and manage to wear down a shield with Night Slash and potentially pick up an attack boost, Close Combat will destroy Ferrothorn. And then with Alola Marowak, you really only need Night Slash for that. The other nice thing about Xangoose having Shadow Claw and Night Slash is Night Slash just picks up Drifblim and can potentially undo some attack drops. Problem though is Xangoose gets shredded by Obstagoon, Vigoroth, and Wigglytuff. It also loses to Abomasnow even when you are running Fury Cutter, so you do have to be careful in that regard. The last Pokemon I want to talk about in this video is Gyarados. Waterfall and Dragon Breath can make some big waves with Aqua Tail. Meh. See what I did there? Waves. Water. Okay, at least my mom thinks I'm funny. Moving on. If you're concerned with fire types, Waterfall and Aqua Tail will do some big damage. I've personally been playing around with Waterfall, and the raw damage has been pretty handy on neutral or super effective hits. Then there's Crunch. Crunch charges pretty quick, and can also do some big damage when unshielded. So if you think Gyarados has done its job and you don't want to risk losing switch advantage to pull out Gyarados, you can at least go down swinging with a Crunch and hit something hard with that. The nice thing too with Water and Dark is what resists one typically does not resist the other, so there's that. The only thing about Gyarados though is Gyarados does have a little bit of bulk issues in Great League because of how attack heavy it is. So I recommend being careful and make sure you save a shield or two for Gyarados. And that's that. There's a lot of different Pokemon in this meta, and there's definitely plenty of opportunity to talk about more, as well as to be able to customize your team. I have a few other things in mind, but I would like to practice around a little bit more myself, so I will probably cover those in a different video. In the meanwhile, Let me know what you think on Sunrise. Leave your comments down below and let me know, are you excited or dreading it? Anyways, that's it. I'm signing out. Have a good day.